Psychology suggests that growing up in the 1970s quietly shaped minds in ways most people misread today. These traits are often labeled as flaws when they're actually signs of a different kind of strength formed early on. The brain adapts to the environment it grows in, and that era trained people to think, cope, and relate differently. Once you understand this lens, parts of your personality stop feeling random or wrong. Like and subscribe as we break into what's really going on beneath the surface. Number 1. Unsupervised autonomy wiring. Why do you feel tense or irritated when someone constantly checks on you or tells you how to do things? Growing up with minimal supervision trained your brain to rely on internal judgment instead of external control. You learned early that freedom came with responsibility, not constant correction. Because no one hovered, you had to read situations, assess risk, and decide for yourself what mattered. That kind of childhood wires decisiveness directly into your nervous system. Authority wasn't something imposed on you every minute. It was something you respected when it was earned. As a result, you developed motivation that came from inside, not from rewards or reminders. This is why modern environments built on monitoring, tracking, and micromanagement can feel strangely suffocating. Most people adapt by complying or checking out, but you feel it as a deeper loss of agency. Your discomfort isn't defiance. It's your autonomy wiring reacting to being overridden. Number 2, self-directed problem solving. Have you noticed that boredom rarely panics you the way it seems to unsettle other people? When you were told to go find something to do, your brain had no choice but to generate its own direction. There were no instant distractions waiting to rescue you from emptiness. So boredom became a signal to invent, explore, or build something from nothing. That process quietly strengthened your executive function without anyone labeling it as training. You learned how to initiate action without prompts, instructions, or encouragement. Over time, this created confidence in your ability to handle open-ended situations. Today, many people outsource that skill to constant stimulation and external guidance. When those supports disappear, they freeze or feel lost. You don't, because your mind learned long ago how to create momentum on its own. Number 3, unstructured time. As executive function training, most people think structure creates discipline, but your brain learned it a very different way. Large stretches of unscheduled time forced you to decide when to start, what to do, and how long to stick with it. No one broke your day into neat blocks or reminded you what came next. That meant your mind had to plan ahead, regulate impulses, and follow through on its own. Over time, this strengthened the same mental systems responsible for focus and long-term thinking. You learned how to initiate action without pressure or deadlines breathing down your neck. That kind of self-control feels natural to you because it was practiced quietly for years. Today, many people rely on external schedules to do that work for them. When structure disappears, their motivation collapses with it. Yours doesn't, because your discipline was built internally, not imposed from the outside. Number 4, adaptive risk calibration. Why do you stay calm in situations that seem to overwhelm everyone else? As a child, your play involved real stakes, not carefully padded experiences. You climbed, ran, explored, and tested limits without adults constantly intervening. Scraped knees and close calls taught your nervous system what danger actually felt like. Over time, your brain learned to separate manageable risk from real threat. That training made fear more precise instead of exaggerated. You don't panic easily because your body has a reliable reference point. Many people today are taught to avoid risk entirely rather than understand it. So their fear response fires too early and too intensely. Your calm isn't emotional coldness. It's accurate risk calibration learned through experience. Number 5, Risk play as anxiety inoculation. Most people are taught that avoiding discomfort keeps anxiety under control, but your experience taught you the opposite. Repeated exposure to uncertainty showed your nervous system that mistakes were survivable. You fell, failed, recovered, and went back out again without catastrophe following. That repetition quietly trained emotional resilience into your body, not just your thoughts. Discomfort became familiar instead of alarming. So, anxiety didn't spiral as easily because your brain already knew how these moments usually ended. You learned that fear could rise and fall without needing immediate escape. Many people today never build that immunity because uncertainty is removed too early. When discomfort shows up later, it feels overwhelming instead of manageable. Your steadiness comes from lived experience, not positive thinking. Number 6, comfortable solitude capacity. Why does being alone feel normal to you while others feel restless or uneasy? You spent long stretches of time by yourself without screens filling every quiet moment. Solitude wasn't framed as loneliness. It was simply part of daily life. Your mind learned how to settle without constant input. Thoughts had room to unfold instead of being interrupted. Silence became grounding rather than threatening. Over time, this built a deep comfort with your own internal world. In today's hyper-connected culture, that trait often gets mislabeled as antisocial. But what you actually have is emotional self-sufficiency. You don't fear being alone because your mind knows how to keep itself company. Number 7, solitude as a trainable skill. What if your ability to be alone isn't a personality quirk, but a skill your brain actually trained? Spending time by yourself strengthened your internal dialogue instead of weakening your social side. With no constant interruptions, your attention learned how to stay with a single thought. Reflection didn't feel forced because it happened naturally in quiet moments. Your mind built endurance the same way muscles do, through repeated use without distraction. Over time, thinking became something you could sustain, not something you needed to escape from. This gave you a steady inner anchor that doesn't depend on external input. Many people today rarely develop this capacity because silence feels unfamiliar or uncomfortable. When they're alone, their thoughts feel too loud or overwhelming. For you, solitude feels stable because your mind learned early how to hold itself. What this really shows is that your traits didn't appear randomly, and they were never flaws to correct. They formed slowly in silence through experiences that taught resilience without announcing it. You carry that grounding even now, whether or not anyone else notices it. If this perspective resonated, feel free to like and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Because understanding this naturally leads into why having no friends can mean you're mentally stronger and what that says about your inner world.